Men are really eager to learn, and when they hear of a celebrated teacher, then they hasten to seek him, then they are swiftly impelled by a wish to learn, then will they gladly buy instruction for money and for admiration. Moreover, they quarrel about coming, for it flatters the ear of vanity to have studied with the admired teacher, with him whom they repay with money and admiration, while they also turn him into money, and repay themselves by having studied with the admired teacher. But if the schoolmaster will not deceive them, if he refuses to accept their money or their admiration, if he knows but one truth, and wishes to know but one, which he is only a learner himself, that a man through sufferings, through himself in the suffering, will learn by God's help from the sufferings the highest truth, then they become impatient, almost embittered with the teacher. The same youth who wished only one thing, to admire the teacher, desired only one thing, in his capacity as first disciple, to proclaim the praise of the one he admires throughout the world. He becomes embittered when he hears that the sufferings are to be the schoolmaster, to whom everyone is to refer. It is strange. The youth would so willingly and admiringly appropriate the teacher and be deceived. On the contrary, he is angry over being able to dispense with the teacher and be in the truth by the aid of sufferings. It is strange that the good most desired in the world is independence, and that there is almost no one who desires the only way which in truth leads to it, sufferings. Men will gladly learn something whereby they may amount to something, learn something from which they can reap the benefit, or learn something by reason of which the knowing dare say that by knowing it he knows much. But when it is fitting that they themselves should learn by the aid of the sufferings, then they lose their courage or their apprehension, then they easily see, they think, that the returns have no relation to the hardships. Alas, we may well say that instead of learning something, every man needs first to learn what is the principal thing to learn. And this first, most profound instruction underlying all other instruction, which is exactly that of the sufferings, is the one which is last desired. He learned obedience from what he suffered. If you, my hearer, will imagine a completely humble man, he lives in an out-of-the-way place. His ability is very limited. Is it not true that the world will say of him, "What could he learn?" And yet there is one thing he can learn. He can learn obedience. Aye, even if he were still more limited than he is, nevertheless, there is still one thing he can learn. He can learn obedience. But why indeed is it so hard to learn obedience, unless it is because one must first learn that obedience is in truth worth learning? That obedience, far from being what one hastily believes, a waste of time, is truly the gaining of the eternal. Why is it so difficult to believe?